Emmanuel's brilliant blue head, which I fell in love with the very first time I saw it on, I don't know, one of the BBC web pages, and I'm using it here with his permission. Perfectly illustrates the situation that anybody who takes on house games, the house advantage, the rake, the house edge, whatever you want to call it, faces. The first question that always comes up, of course, is how many bets, how many thousands of rounds are enough to prove a strategy or to prove a theory or prove a point or do any of those things. And of course, the answer to that basically is we know we're talking how long is a piece of string, because I mean here am I right now involved with data collected from Baccarat Win Pro, and it's only a few thousand bets, only a few thousand rounds. But the irony is, of course, that when casinos are examining new ways to skin us, new ways to turn us upside down and empty our wallets, if a new game is presented to them, they want to see profit in, oh, I don't know, a couple of dozen hands at the most, because otherwise it just doesn't satisfy them. They're not prepared to wait for the long run, for potentially thousands or hundreds or even dozens of rounds to go by before they start making money. They want to see cash coming their way from the get-go, and that's basically how it is. Okay, so continuing the numbers game, it's been about a dozen years since I first downloaded two sets of 1,000 shoes apiece, two data sets from the Wizard of Oz, Mike Shackelford's website. He'd set up 1,006 deck Baccarat shoes and 1,008 deck Baccarat shoes. And I think since 2011, when I first did this, he's added several million more shoes. But I really don't see much point in examining this matter any further, because we're looking at about 140,000 Baccarat outcomes. However many shoes that might be, it's a lot. and you can see from what's coming up, from what's in front of you right now, and from what's coming up next, that in spite of a total of three, I think, very nasty busts, that particular version of the pattern betting target turnaround strategy, I'm going to have to think of a shorter name for it, I think, prevailed. To the tune of better than 3%, plus 3% player advantage in each case, and that's just truth. It's really as simple as that. And of course, when you drill down to the actual busts that you see here illustrated in the green graph on the right hand side, you come to recognize that no sentient being, no human, would ever stick around for the kind of hammering, the kind of thrashing that was delivered by the particular sequence of outcomes that caused the debacle. But I'm not concerned about fighting against the busts, because I can't prove that moving would have saved the day, but I can at least show you the individual sets, the lines that led to this horrible situation, and of course I'm well aware that the size of the bets that are featured in these models are huge. But let's face it, lots and lots and lots of money is pushed out on tables all over the world at Baccarat, and a max of what have I got here? 125,000 is pretty much ballpark for people like well, the very famous or infamous Phil Ivey, who more and more I've come to recognise probably wasn't cheating at all, which I guess is the reason he's not in jail. You know, I mean, it was really interesting to see a thing on YouTube from a guy who is a professional paid expert, an analyst of casino risks, and you know, he used his professional judgment and said that no, it wasn't cheating, and he's a pro casino guy. You know, his job basically is to fight for the casinos, to protect them against fraud and cheating and that kind of thing. And he said, no, no way. Ivy and his partner, his Asian partner, were not cheating at all. They were just exploiting a stupid mistake that the casinos themselves made, which left them vulnerable. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. I do touch on it from time to time in these videos, and I certainly don't want to walk into a defamation lawsuit or whatever from Phil Ivey. So, you know, I'm very happy to conclude that the professional analyst is right, and that Phil Ivey probably deserves to get some money from the casinos that he beat handily, because they did something stupid, and they were aware of the fact that it was a dangerous error, and they did nothing to correct it. So anyway, that's a whole other question. Yeah, these last couple of screenshots from the Wizard of Oz thousand shoe data sets, I think are worth looking at, and I hope you'll agree. On the left-hand side is just a kind of an estimate of what would happen if skips were applied, and to be honest, it's not entirely illustrative of the effect of skipping, for want of a better word, because obviously you get a situation where if you see a bet sort of like 2/3 of the way down, where it says skip minus 700, minus 7, minus 100, well, obviously the next bet is not going to be as high, because you won't have lost that money if you've sat out the bets. But there's value here, I think, because it does at least illustrate that sitting out bets, if it's permitted in the casino and at the table that you're playing at, and obviously you'll be at many casinos and at many tables, and sometimes multiple casinos and tables, just to recover from a really difficult situation. But that's there just as a kind of a hint, an indicator of what can happen. What I think is much more interesting here is in each of these these screenshots, you can see the first one is for the 8-deck shoes, and it shows you that if we say that bets of $1,000 or £1,000 actually, as it's set up here, or less, are low, and anything over £1,000 is high, then you get a kind of an interesting situation, because over the 83,640 bets in the first screenshot, you'll see that the low bets had a disadvantage of 1.5%, which is a little higher than you would expect at Baccarat, but okay, that's fine. The higher bets, different story. They do very well. Not absolutely fantastically, but you'll see that 1,600 of them won. That's the plus figure under low there at the top. And then 1,508 lost. So we had 92 winners overall. And the effect of that was to give us an advantage for that category of bet of 4.5%. And what's interesting to me is that experts will tell us time and time and time again that it doesn't matter what you bet, the house advantage is the same for every single bet. The truth is that if you use progressive betting, then what's happening is that your bets start to rise when the pendulum is swinging against you, and it is going to come back your way. It's not going to offset every one of the losses that you've suffered, but you only need to sometimes only one win to turn around if you're applying three play. But certainly two or three will get you out of trouble. So you could go, I don't know, maybe 19 consecutive losses. And then, as long as you've got the bankroll and you're in a situation where the casino permits you to do it, you can place whatever bets are needed to give you a quick turnaround in far fewer bets than it took you to get into the hole in the first place. This is an old story for me. I've been saying this for 30 years, but now I found a new audience and I just can't let go. So there we are. Yeah, something I should clear up before I wrap this up is that in the six deck data set, you can see that there were, in fact, on the high bets, there were 7 more losses than wins. But obviously, the size of the bets is what makes the difference. And we still managed a 4.3 plus player advantage in the smaller number, the 62,624 bets in the 1,006 deck shoes, and that's very consistent with the with the screenshot that you just saw from the 8 deck data set. One other thing that I might have confused, because I've confused myself, so I've probably confused you too, is that in the skip summary, the second column is in fact a sort of a running total. It's the bankroll. So what you'll get is a frozen figure when there's a skip. It just doesn't increase, and then it changes when you get back to betting. But the point that I was trying to make is that it's not an entirely accurate indicator of the message or the information that I'm trying to put across, simply because if you haven't lost a whole load of bets because of sitting out, then obviously your target is lower and your bet value is going to be lower. And then as far as the rest of this whole thing is concerned, I have no idea what kind of audience I'm going to find for this, if any, because in all my years in Nevada, I learned something repeatedly, just over and over again, and that is that the vast majority of people, probably, well over 99 out of 100, well over 99% of people just really can't be bothered to learn the complexities of what they're up against. They're just out to have fun, and they are absolutely entitled to that. Of course they are. If they're saying to themselves, okay, I've got $2,000 to waste on my weekend in Las Vegas, and I'm just going to have some fun, so I'm going to play some slots, and I'm going to blah, 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 whatever. Mostly, however, the people who take table games very seriously are not the same people as the fans of slot machines. You don't usually see people seriously attacking a table game and then wandering off to a slot machine to lose some of the money they won at the tables. That's not the way it works. But anyway, that is definitely a discussion for another time. But I just wanted to wrap this up to thank everybody who's taken the trouble to watch it, if there's anybody out there who has. And that applies to all of the stuff on this channel. I have no idea who's going to find it. I am seeing an increase in the number of hits, and that's encouraging. But beyond that, who knows where it's going to go.